Hello and welcome back to the channel to a very wet late September morning where I'm going to give you a first look at one of the latest offerings from the massive global brand BYD. This is the BYD Seal U, which is on sale in Ireland from now, with the base model costing a mere €42,000 for a highly specced family SUV. Things like panoramic glass roof as standard, head-up display as standard, LED lights across the back of the car, and this car has a plug-in hybrid range of 80 kilometers, made it to a 1.5 litre petrol engine, which will give you a range of about 1,000 kilometers if you have it fully charged and fully topped up. We have that familiar by now BYD nose, LED headlights, little bit of two-tone colouring going on over the bottom. As you can see, there's 360 cameras as standard, little camera there to assist with that. Nice two-tone look alloy wheels and some black plastic over the bottom of the car, which should help with protecting your trousers on rainy, mucky days. I'm under quite a bit of time pressure with the car today, so don't expect one of my usual 50 million cutaway shot YouTube reviews. I'll get to that when I have the car for a full week. This is a half a point of view whip around tour of the new BYD. 425 litres in the boot, 1440 if you drop the 60-40 split rear seats. Obviously you're going to have a type 2 charging cable, and down below here then not much storage, gunk, high-vis bits of things, tyre sealant and all the rest of it. Certainly not as practical in the back as something like a Skoda Kodiaq, but for a plug-in hybrid, not a bad size boot by any stretch. Into the rear of the car then, so flat floor because there's an electric version coming. We won't get into that today, let's not confuse everything. Panoramic glass roof is standard on all versions of it. It goes all the way back, some nice spotlights down there. Armrests going on with some green threads throughout this part of the car. And an armrest. And then down below here we have USB-C charging ports and 2 air vents. You don't get climate control, you'll have to put up with whatever the driver is doing. These are vegan leather seats, by the way, in case you're in any doubt. And you can get an Infinity sound system upgrade if you like your tunes. Good mix of plastic. Even back here, it's not harsh plastic, it's soft and padded and squishy feeling. High gloss here, bit of silver going on. As I said, absolutely shocking weather today. It's bucketing down. Let's show you around the inside of the front of the Seal U now. So a massive screen, as is par for the course these days in BYD models. Yes, you can rotate it with a quick flick of the button. Having not driven a BYD in a couple of months, just getting back in today, it does take a little bit of getting used to in terms of some of the ADAS stuff, some of the safety gadgets, of which there are tons and tons as standard on this car. Level 2 autonomy and safety standards, basically. Frontal collision, blind spot, rear cross traffic, head-up display as standard. You might get an idea of being able to see that head-up display just here. Then if I go down to this part of the car, you get further driver instruments. It'll display whether it's powering the battery or driving the car through the front wheels. There's a couple of different modes that I'll explain on the drive. Not a bad level of materials used here, kind of blue lighting, high gloss black again. These air vents, they look a little bit cheap and nasty. Dual charging, still quicker to plug it in. That space is down here, and there's also a little bit of storage down below there as well. Hopefully you can see that. It's a very dark day Again, black high gloss here. You can flick between EV and HEV mode. The diamond looking gear nib that you've seen in things like the Seal is there, and some of your shortcuts to the different modes, but a lot, and I mean a lot, of the action goes on through this screen. Quick look at the steering wheel then. The center part looks a bit cheap and plasticky, but the feeling of it in terms of touch is good. You have radar cruise as standard, so adaptive cruise, and more access to modes down into this part of the car. Just using the 360 camera now to maneuver this thing, which some people will find very, very significant. A thing that they'll just want on a car of this size, particularly navigating, I don't know, shopping centre car parks, any of that kind of stuff, which can just be a bit trickier in terms of size. So some of the other great things about this car, well, first of all, the windscreen wipers are very, very squeaky, but you know, there's probably just grease on the windscreen or whatever, so I don't want to be overly critical on that. So it's a 1.5 petrol engine. There is a turbo version as well. There's a couple of different modes if you're not using just electric. Okay, so use a petrol engine. It can power the generator, which in turn powers the motor, which drives the car, or then you can have a different mode which directly powers the front wheels from the engine of the car. So a few different options. BYD have been at pains today to explain that even though this is a petrol engine, it's highly efficient. It's designed to be highly efficient. It can extract excess petrol that it doesn't require to power the car. We're talking laminated glass as standard, so the outside world is actually pretty quiet. It's comfortable over bumps. The wheel size, they're not overly large, but they don't look too small on what is quite a large car. But then for these bumps in the road, it's fine. So I think everyone will be comfortable on board. There's no fancy messing with suspensions and setting things up like that. The higher spec version of the car is closer to 50,000 euro. That's the one on sale. So there's two trim versions basically. I really would struggle to see why you'd need more spec than is on the standard car. Head-up display standard, panoramic glass roof, vegan leather seats, all the safety stuff, including that 360 camera. I don't see why. The whole point of BYD is to certainly disrupt the market, and if you're going to then start speccing it up, you might as well be in something maybe a bit more familiar. But as I say, 42 grand for this car, nothing wrong with it. BYD app is now live with the NFC, so if you walk up to the mirrors, you'll see little NFC logo. You probably might have seen that on different devices over the years, maybe a camera you have and stuff like that, or a phone. And basically you'll be able to use the phone then without keys to access the car. Just to explain a bit more then, if you see DM in relation to the car, it's nothing to do with sliding into anybody's DMs. It's dual mode. So that's where they're going with that. And I suppose they do need something to differentiate between the fact that this is a petrol and not just a battery electric vehicle, because BYD are now so well known for having electric vehicles. They reckon urban driving, you should be in electric mode 80% of the time. Really, like even at higher speeds, it's still in battery mode. Normally with plug-in hybrids, 60-70 kilometers an hour under hard acceleration, the petrol engine kicks in. It's not happening here. Another point that was made today, BYD made the first mass-produced plug-in hybrid back in 2008. Now, the Toyota Prius was the first hybrid car, but obviously that hasn't been a plug-in until the last couple of years. It's the Atkinson cycle, which is the mode that can extract some petrol, excess fuel when it's not needed, just to make it hyper efficient. Even now in a roundabout, and again, you'd be expecting a lot of body roll, feel the weight of the car transferring around. It's fine. The noisiest part is the raindrops on the glass roof. Just to give you an idea then of fuel economy, and this isn't covering the part of the drive that I've been on because it's the last 50 kilometers and I've done about 5. But fuel efficiency wise, 5.9 litres per 100 kilometers. As I said, you're going to better that as long as you plug it in. So just to recap on the trims, boost, comfort and design. Comfort is the one coming in the start of 2025. All versions will have 11 kilowatt charging as standard. That means the on-street slower chargers, you can benefit from a quick top up there. The entry-level battery is just over 18 kilowatt hours usable. There is a larger battery around the 25 kilowatt hour usable mark in the larger battery capacity. I think though the average commute in Ireland, really 80 is probably well covered, which you'll get from the standard version. There's lots of bings and bongs. Some of them can be turned off, but it is every time, every journey, and it is through some layers within the screen. So it's kind of what driving modern cars is like today, but BYD are definitely one of the worst offenders when it comes to all the beeps and bongs and the driving aids. I mean, it's great to have so many as standard, but it can also be a bit annoying. So this has been my absolute first impression. I haven't done any research before this car. I just jumped into it. It's a Xiaoyun, is how you pronounce it, petrol engine. Never driven a Seal U before. I'm impressed, and it's not even that you're kind of blindsided by the price. I mean, it is. It's a great bonus that all this comes for €42,000. I won't lie to you, there's family members who I've sent this car and this spec onto already this morning who are in the market for cars, because again, for a family sized vehicle for 42 grand with this level of spec, there ain't too many other options out there. Let me know what you think. As I say, I'll have a longer full-on week-long road test of the BYD Seal U later on in the year, but for now, time for my summary. Absolutely bucketing down here in Dublin. I think it's another car that is going to shake up the market, because this type of vehicle in terms of size is just so popular in Ireland, and for €42,000 with an 8-year 200,000 kilometer warranty on the battery, the fact that you can plug it in but you have that extra 1,000 kilometer petrol range, highly efficient car. It's a lot of car for €42,000. Yes, there's the higher spec version, a third spec coming towards the end of the year. The comfort spec, will be dual motored as well as front wheel drive. And then next year, BYD in Ireland will launch 4 more cars. This is a company who have 22% global market share of any vehicle with a plug last year. Volkswagen, for context, were 7% and Tesla in the middle at 13%. They are going absolutely nowhere, and as long as they produce cars with this level of spec for that kind of money, it's really hard to argue with it. Thanks for coming this far. Sorry about the weather and the rush video, and I'll talk to you in the next one.